Oh, it took about an hour and a half. Cost me 350 pesos on the Victory Liner coach. The usual way to get around here. Outside the station it was chaos, strike riders everywhere, calling out prices. I ended up paying 250 pesos for a ride into Subic, which I'd later find out was about 100 pesos too much. It was hot, the usual roadside heat. That dry kind of late morning sun where everything feels like it's already past its best. The ride in, just traffic, stein, sun-blasted concrete, nothing romantic about it. The ride in, just traffic, heat, and the signature scent of roadside Philippines, dust, diesel, and grilled something or other. The hotel I ended up was called the Pub. I was only staying one night, messed up my booking. The room faced the main road. Non-stop traffic outside, noisy, tired looking. Don't stay here. Get out of the hotel to get my bearings. Barretto Beach. It was a Sunday, hot, loud, busy. Local families out in full force. Kids running in the surf, dogs barking, music drifting from beach huts. Just walked it really, back and forth. Taking a few photos, trying to settle in. Trying to work out what kind of trip this was going to be. Was feeling peckish, so I stopped off at a local fish and chip shop. Run by a British expat. Solid Western food, decent portions. Ate here quite a bit during the day. Plenty of Brits around here. Sat there watching the traffic roll past on Bug-a-Long Road. Non-stop flow. Later walked the same stretch towards Baloy Beach. Nothing but heat, horns and motion. Arrived at Baloy Beach, much quieter here. No roadside traffic, just sand, sky, sea and a few people. Boats bobbing on the water, kids playing in the shallows, families dotted along the beach. I walked the stretch, just feeling the vibe, trying to reset a bit. Stayed out here back in 2006, Blue Rock Resort. Didn't realise it at first, should have based myself here again. It's off the main road, more peaceful. Not many beach tours about though. Nowhere to really sit. A few hotels nearby, you could grab a drink and borrow a spot. But I wasn't here to lounge, I was here to walk. A few touts wander the beach, selling sunglasses, boat trips, the usual sales pitch. You can only walk so far before you hit the Matain River. There's a ferryman who will take you across if you want. I actually not do it while I was there, but I did see some locals coming across the river. That's the thing with Subic Bay. You can't walk for miles on the beach, because eventually you just get cut off. Still, compared to Angeles, it was a welcome change of pace, and I could stretch my legs and breathe in some almost fresh air. The main thing is here, when I wanted to get out for a walk, I could just come out on the beach, go for a long walk, reset, clear my head, get a bit of exercise in. The Baloy Beach road area doesn't have the bars like you get on the main stretch where I was staying, but it's only a short walk, 10-minute walk there, and it's perfectly safe. So you really want to stay in this area for peace and quiet. Done staying behind a crumbling pier on the Olongopo city beach. I was still in exploration mode, lots of locals out at sunset, families, couples, groups of friends. I watched from the far end up on the pier looking down. And just like the other side, you can only walk so far. Here it ends at the Matain River. Back on the main stretch as the evening turned to night. This is where all the bars are. They're quite tightly packed. There's a lot of them along this stretch. I'd read good reviews about the Hotzone, but it didn't really deliver when I returned later that night. They're quite packed along here, but there's not a lot else to do really. Again, quality is not great. I did find a nice rooftop bar, Barcelona, which I enjoyed the sunset from. There was a couple of friendly waitresses up there that made the beer taste a bit better. But it was a quiet first night. I just visited a few bars and then had called it a day. I had 4 nights here, so plenty of time to find my groove. Started day 2 off at McDonald's on the Baloy Beach road. Surprisingly good. The egg McMuffin was well cooked, very fresh. And then it was down to Baloy Beach for my morning walk. The light was beautiful. It's much more peaceful than the evening before. Still a few people around, but got in a good walk up to the end and then back. Still the odd party group hanging around. Unfortunately, there's quite a bit of litter on the beach. Filipinos don't seem to care much about litter. Some beautiful reflections off the river up the top. Don't know why I didn't take a photo here. The locals on the beach with the boats, they'll take you out to Snake Island, like 1 or 2 hour trip. I think you can do some snorkeling there. I should have done it really, create some memories. I think they would quote me about 2,000 pesos for the boat trip. So it's something you can do in the daytime there. I walked back along Baloy Beach Road. Much quieter along here. And some places have seen better days, a bit like me really. But much quieter at the top. When you get further down, then there's more places to stay. But this is where you do want to stay. Someone's got a drink problem. Bit more than me. Then into the Harleys Pub. Good food here, nice views, but the waitresses won't come and serve you unless you ring the bell that's on the table, so that took a bit of getting used to. Checked out of the pub hotel at midday and made my way over to the Subic Bay Resort where I'll be for the next few nights. First impressions weren't great. In the room the safe wasn't working, there were no towels, no heinous, the usual stuff. The pool was nice, as you can see. I had a good few swims in there. But I do not recommend this place. I chose it because it's close to all the bars. Nice view at the end of the beach, but as soon as you go down there, touts come over to you trying to sell everything. So,
Alright.
Subic Bay Resort is directly on the Olongapo city beach, so in the evening I went for another stroll to enjoy the sunset. Walking along the beach I seemed to be invisible to the locals. They're quite used to, you know, Westerners, expats walking around, so you're nothing out of the ordinary there. Other than the expats who live there, there's very few tourists about in Subic. The guy who owns the cafe in Angeles told me Subic is very quiet. Well, I thought that would be a good thing. I find there's a lot less tourists in the Philippines compared to Thailand. Well, from down on the beach I could see there was a rooftop bar at Central Park Reef Resort, so I thought that would be a good place to check out, see the sunset from there, have a few beers. I'm up the top of the Central Park Reef Resort. There's quite a few Westerners up there actually. They like sit around in packs or in groups. You don't see them on the street, so that's where they all hide, in the Central Park Reef Resort. It does very nice food. I went here a couple of times just to eat. Food on the street can taste a bit gritty, but it's very good quality food in here and it's not expensive. Great views, as you can see. Not the cheapest hotel in Subic, but probably one of the most comfortable. I wouldn't mind staying here if I wasn't on a budget. That's the trouble with budget hotels. You know, it can be a false economy if you don't get rest. You've got to get rest. It's worth paying a bit extra to make sure you get rest. Down to the bar strip. Started across from Hotzone, chatting with a Canadian guy, but the peak of the trip, of the night, was I ended up in the whiskey bar. Not many customers in there at first. At one point I had 6 girls around me, all groping and laughing. They offered 4,000 pesos to bar fine, or 1,500 for the VIP. I went with the VIP, and I've got to say it was a very good experience. And that was it. Good feeling at the time, but fleeting. I do recommend the whiskey bar if you're in Subic, but it could happen in any bar. It's all about timing, really. Started the morning with a full English breakfast at the fish and chip shop again. It was okay, not great. The butter still had that strange nutty taste which I don't like. Walked the beach again, same stretch as yesterday, still beautiful, but starting to feel a little familiar. Becoming a routine. There's something about the mountain backdrop though here. It always draws my eye. I kept thinking it'd be great to take a day trip up there, get off the beach, get some altitude, do some hiking. But in the Philippines, finding transport can be difficult, especially in a place like Subic. There's no Grab here, not much in the way of public options either. A local did mention that some of the expats get together, meet up and do go hiking. But unless you know someone, you're on your own. And that's the irony. You can be surrounded by natural beauty and still feel a bit stuck. Went out for a swim later in the day. The hot water was finally working back at the hotel small wing. Down on the beach, I saw an expat arguing with a group of locals. Didn't catch what started it, but it escalated fast. He took a few hits. By the time I thought to grab my camera, it was mostly over. For the most part, Filipinos are friendly, genuinely welcoming. But some of these beach bums, they're a bit macho, they're not very sharp. Once they realise you're not going to buy anything, the tone can change. They go from smiles to silence, or worse, start acting like you owe them something. It's not common, but it's something to be aware of, especially if you're on your own. It was sobering to watch, and puts you on your guard. You need to be vigilant and be careful. I mean, these guys, they're quite desperate to make money, and there's very few tourists about, and I'm not surprised watching that. By the end of day 3, I'm already thinking about returning to Manila, going on to Puerto Galera, or even heading back to Thailand. For Subic, I'd seen enough and I had another day to kill yet, but I'm ready to move on. Another evening stroll on Olongapo City Beach, another sunset, quite dramatic sky. Then along the main strip, dinner was some beef stew and mash, foodies below cheap Charlie's, same nutty butter taste again, which I don't like. Later tried a couple of bars, wet zone. One called 69 had a cute girl. Sat with her for a drink, but when I left she immediately moved on to some loud guy at the next table. Didn't go back, had maybe 4 beers total, felt a bit flat. It wasn't a bad day, just muted. The high had passed, I was already leaving, 1 beer at a time. Last full day in Subic. Started with a breakfast butty at the fish and chip shop. No butter this time, they like their butter rotten here anyway. Took one last walk along Baloy Beach. The light was beautiful this morning, clean, still. After a few days in a place, you start to get noticed. You're no longer anonymous, you become familiar, but not always in a good way. The beach bums, once they realise they can't make money out of you, they get bored. They start taunting, looking for a bit of entertainment. It's best not to take the bait, that's what they want. Something to break up the day. And some of the expats, I get the feeling I annoy them too. Maybe it's because I haven't settled into the same trap they have. But the walk, that still matters. A morning walk in nature resets something in you, and no one can take that away. That evening I dropped by Centre Park Hotel. I ordered some chop suey, mostly veg. It had a few scraps of chicken and shrimp, but it got in my greens. Then the music kicked in, loud, relentless, pointless. No one seemed to be listening to it, just blasting it because silence makes some people uncomfortable. You need to start carrying headphones. Last sunset walk along Baloy Beach, and then at this point I wasn't really discovering anything new, just orbiting the same places, trying to keep momentum, but knowing it was time to land. I wasn't homesick exactly, but I missed comfort, I missed rest, and I was starting to see how little joy you can squeeze out of a trip once fatigue takes over. And one last bar crawl before calling it a night in Subic. My last morning in Subic, one last walk along Baloy Beach before heading out. By now you know the rhythm. If you've watched this far, you know the routine. And that's the truth of travel, you don't escape routine. You have to build new ones wherever you land. To be honest, I was kind of glad to be leaving. Can't really see myself coming back here. Subic's not what I've been looking for. There are so many more places in the Philippines still to discover, but it takes energy. And you only get so much of that per trip. There's nothing wrong with returning somewhere, but there's no shame in crossing it off the list either. Sometimes you have to go back just to realise why you left. Took a trike back to Olongopo bus station, 200 pesos. Didn't mind paying it, I was just glad to get out of that hotel. Place felt like it was run by kids. Maintenance was really poor. The fridge hummed all night, overheating. I had to unplug it just to get to sleep. Now I was heading back to Manila, 4 hours on the road, returning to the comfort of Makiti Palace. Time to reset. A couple of days pause before deciding where to go next. Travel further in the Philippines, Cebu, Huata Galera, or maybe just return to Thailand and save that for next time.
You see, my friend?
Yeah.
Subic gave me a few sunsets, a few rooftop views, 1 or 2 nights worth remembering, but I won't be back. Thanks for watching and following the journey so far. If you've been to Subic or thinking about it, please drop a comment below. Always good to hear other takes. And if you're enjoying this kind of raw, real travel, hit like and consider subscribing. Plenty more stories to come. Next stop, Makiti, Manila.